Hi there. I didn't mean to hit start, but here I am. I was trying to adjust the phone a new way today, and it was not working very well. So, hello, my friends. Today I want to share something that's really been heavy on my heart, and that's about our perception of the way we look at things. So, I'm going to start with a story of the boys' upbringing, growing up. When they were about 7, 5, and 4, I had sprained my pelvic bone, and I had been homeschooling the boys, and I also babysat 3 other children on top of my 3, and I had taken some time off from babysitting because of the sprained pelvic bone, and I was laying in bed early one morning, and I heard the boys stirring and running around and making a little bit of noise, and I just laid there quietly hoping that I would gain a few more minutes with my morning. And I heard this loud crash and a yell, "It's not my fault." And I was so frustrated. I was so tired and so sore, and I threw the cover back and got up to see what mischief they were into. And I was asking God, can I even have a little bit of quiet, and I walk out and I see that they had gotten into purple grape juice, which they weren't supposed to get into, and they had purple grape juice splattered all over the wall. They had it all over the table. They had it dripping down the middle of the table, down through the table onto the dog's head. The dog's licking it up and shaking his head every now and then, and the grape juice is going everywhere. It is everywhere. And I was livid. I was ready to throw on the angry monster mama face. And they knew they weren't supposed to be getting into it. What were they doing? And I felt really strong. The Lord just said, stop, as I was getting ready to go ugly mama all over them. And I started arguing with the Lord. But God, they know not to do this. And why are you telling me to stop? And I felt him say stop again, just stop. And I saw RJ, my oldest, handing his brother a cloth to wipe up the table. And of course, they're making a bigger mess than what's even there by just spreading it all over. And I thought maybe God wanted me to see that they're being kind to one another and helping one another. And I had just been asking the day before, is anything I'm teaching them sticking? I'm homeschooling them. I'm in a really funky state, and is anything sticking? And again, I heard the Lord say, look closer. And I looked, and I noticed that there was little pieces of bread on the table. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, and they noticed Mom standing there, and they looked at me and they said, look, Mama, we're having communion. In that moment, if I had ugly Mama all over them, if I had done the screaming and the yelling and the ranting and the raving and over the mess, their little hearts would have been crushed when they were having a moment with the Lord, when they were taking something that they had been taught and applying it to their everyday life at home. And I could have crushed their spirit over that. I'm sorry, I have something on my face and it's driving me crazy. Anyway, so it really got me to thinking about our perception, and that God had called me in that season to really slow down and take a deeper look. And as I've been praying lately, I have to admit, and I might step on some toes, but I absolutely hate the phrase, love the sinner, hate the sin. God has really been pressing on my heart lately that we are not even to be viewing people through those lenses. We are to be viewing people through the lenses of love and as who they are in the human, and not by a label or a title of a sin that they're dealing with in their life. Now, I'm talking about the unbelievers, that they're not even walking with the Lord. So why do we think we have to label them by their sin when they're not even walking in an identity as a child of God? So my heart passion is to look at God's created child with his lens of love, and he created them with a plan and a purpose. He created them with a hope for relationship. And if all we do is put up that wall or that barrier because we're looking at the unbeliever through sin, then we're having a problem with connection a connection of who they truly are. You know, I think that for sure when we're walking with our Christian brothers and sisters, if somebody is sinning, for sure we should call each other on it if the Lord's telling us to, in love. I am so thankful for my Christian sisters that have identified fear or me being reserved when I shouldn't be, or when they've identified things that I'm battling with. But when we're talking about an unbeliever, I want to challenge us Christians to look at them through love and the lenses of love, and not the lenses of title and what we think is a problem in their life, but to look beyond that. I have scriptures. I have tons of scriptures that I'm going to put on my blog, but I'm not going to heavy the video feed with that. So if you want to go to writing4joy.com tomorrow, I will have all the scriptures laid out. But the one that I really wanted to point out to is Matthew 7:1-5. Do not judge, or you too will be judged, and the measure that you use it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? We need to be looking at ourselves and evaluating ourselves before we even dare touch on something that someone else is dealing with. We all have our stuff. And I'm not saying that we just turn a blind eye, but it's not our place to pass that judge. Jesus came so that we wouldn't have to judge one another. He came so that we can have relationship. Even when in the Bible days the Pharisees brought the woman who was found committing adultery, they brought her to Jesus so they could catch Jesus judging her. They said, this woman has broken our law. What do you say? And Jesus wrote in the dirt and then looked up at them and said, he without sin cast the first stone. Because in the biblical days, it was law that she be killed for her sin. But Jesus did not look at what she had done wrong. He pointed back and said, look at your own errors and the own things that you have in your life that you're doing wrong. And if you have none of that sin, then you can cast the stone. Well, Jesus knew the heart conditions, and he knows that none of us are without sin. That's what he came to this earth for. So I just want to encourage you guys to drop the wall that's come between us. You know, I'm really looking at I'm going to be just bold out there, and for a minute, I never go political, but I'm going to go political for a minute. There's such a wall between Republicans and Democrats and liberals and conservatives, and because we're looking at what everyone we think is doing wrong and the ways that we don't agree. And I just want us to look at the heart of the person, and look at them with love. And perfect love casts out fear. And I think a lot of times when we're coming against each other with these conflicts, it's because we fear. As conservatives, we fear a certain issue. And as liberals, they fear a certain issue. And as people in between, like myself, I can feel both parties. But when we come in with love, that perfect love is going to soothe all of the issues. And I just really want to encourage us to look at each other with love. Look at each other through our hearts and not the actions of another. We want to know each other and know the person and the heart issues. You know, when somebody's sinning, like I've had somebody in my life that, I will be honest, I 100% was walking in sin because I hated them. I hated them with a passion. And the reason I hated them is because they were constantly ugly to me. Constantly ugly, tearing me down, lying to my face, lying about me. And I just had flat out hate in my heart. And that hate was sin. That was my own sin. And then the Lord really showed me I had to stop looking at the issue of their hurt and start looking at the heart condition. When people are walking in sin, they don't know their worth. They are walking in shame. They are struggling with certain heart issues. They haven't identified it yet. They're in bondage. And when all of a sudden I started looking with compassion and love, I took the eyes off of the way that person was attacking me. Now, I will be honest. I love them, I forgive them, and I pray for them. But I no longer walk in relationship with somebody that was constantly damaging and hurting my heart. So there is balance. But I just want us to really encourage to look and view others with the heart of love. as Jesus called us, that's the first and greatest commandment, is to love. And so as Christians, I do want us to hold each other accountable. I want people to call me out in love on my stuff that is hindering me if they want to see growth. But it comes from a point of wanting to see growth and seeing me thrive, rather than, I don't want people to come at me with judgment because they think they are more righteous than I. And that is exactly how the world is. Who are we to think we're more righteous than anybody else when we all come from the same place? And so that is my heart today. I have taken some time to just like talk today and not read through, because I get a little bit distorted and confused with my mind when I try to read and talk. So now, Jacob, I thank you for encouraging me on the verses and always being a great encourager. And you're right, Jesus was neither conservative or liberal or a donkey or an elephant. He was the mighty Lion of Judah, and he came so that we could have freedom from the stress of the political world. He came so that we could walk in peace. And I think the biggest key is to start walking in love, and then everything else starts to iron out. We start to hear and understand, and we are not inferior or superior to anybody. And I think that goes into our identity. You know, it's important that we have our own identity, like I talked about, you know, our firm foundation of our identity. And when we start looking at people through labels of their sin, we're identifying them with a false identity. That is not who they are. We are looking at what we or different people consider a flaw, and we're not even looking at the person and the heart condition and how we can love on them. And I do not want to be one of those, you know, all sin is good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we all walk our own walk, and we all have our own Holy Spirit moments and convictions, and the Lord to work in us and to grow us. And I want us to first come to each other in love. And Mom, I see you. Hello. I'll see you soon for dinner. So I will have my post up tomorrow with many amazing scriptures and things to just encourage us on how to love one another and what the word says about judging one another, and remembering that we all start exactly in the same place, and we're never ever done growing. So keep loving on each other and encouraging each other, and look through clearer perception.